All right, welcome back. We are on Unit 1, Lesson 2, Geography of Africa. The objective for today is going to be that students will be able to accurately locate and label geographic features and regions of an African continent, the African continent, by using secondary maps and sources to support their map creation. You will also be able to use your map to create inferences or to come up with inferences, guesses, hypothesis about how geography impacts locations of settlements, empires, and people by using key geographic features like rivers, mountains, deserts, plains to support your analysis and claims. So it's a lot of information there, but it's basically, can you use a map to figure out information about where people live? The language objective for today is going to be that students will be able to articulate in writing how the geography of Africa impacts its power by using specific, content-specific terms. So the question today you're thinking through ultimately is, how do decisions concerning the allocation or the giving of and use of resources impact individuals, groups, and relationships? So basically, like, how does where people live impact the power that they have? By the end of today, you need to make sure you've turned in this Google document and taken your mastery check and submitted it in Edulastic. Start with our vocabulary here. We've got 3 vocabulary words to understand today. The first one is hemisphere. A hemisphere is half of the Earth, usually as divided into northern and southern halves by the equator, or into western and eastern halves with the prime meridian passing between the poles. So you can see the image here. This is the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, eastern hemisphere, this side eastern, western hemisphere, just like cut in half. Colorado is located in the northern, so we're in the western hemisphere, which means that our summers are May to August, usually. The second vocabulary word we have today is diaspora. It's the dispersion or the spreading and movement of people from their original homelands. So it's basically this idea of migration, but it's considering where people are in the world, sometimes by choice and sometimes by forced situations, but it is how they associate themselves with that still. So historically, the word diaspora was used to refer to the involuntary mass dispersion of population from its indigenous territories. When we talk about World War I and II, we'll talk about the diaspora of the Jewish population. They were forced to leave their territorial homeland, their indigenous lands, because of governmental involvement. Also in American history, you talk about it with the Trail of Tears, the diaspora of the native populations. And then the last word is geographic. Geographic is based on or derived from the physical features of an area. So the mountains, the rivers, the lakes, the deserts, the grasslands, the geographic features, the physical features of the land. Anthropologists study the geographic features of a region to understand how the people used the land. So, you're due now here, you're looking at this map. We've got it divided into the hemispheres, western, eastern, northern, southern, and I've labeled, so we already have the continents labeled except for Antarctica, and now the oceans are also labeled. We've got our compass rose here so you can see the directions. Using this map, I want you to think about, also based on what we know about map projections, I want you to rank the continents from largest to smallest. So you're going to list biggest continent, smallest continent, for number 1. Number 2, Africa is bordered, this is like a 4-parter. Africa is bordered by 2 oceans and 2 seas. You're going to complete this below. You don't need complete sentences here. You can just put like, is bordered by. So which ocean borders Africa to the west? So you're going to go to Africa, and we know the west is this direction because I've got my compass rose there. What ocean borders it to the west? We've got the North Atlantic and the South Atlantic. I know this whole area is the Atlantic Ocean, so you would type in here Atlantic Ocean. Letter B, which ocean borders it to the east? So again, we're going to go to Africa. I'm going to go to the east. I see a Red Sea, and I see an ocean, Indian Ocean. It's asking for the ocean, so I'm going to put in the Indian Ocean, so on and so forth. Letter C, what sea borders Africa to the north? So again, Africa, go to the north. Here is the Mediterranean Sea. I would type that in there. And then last but not least, what sea borders Africa to the northeast? So I know Mediterranean's in the north. I see the Red Sea here. It's actually this little strip of land right there, or strip of sea right there. And I would do Red Sea. Number 3, what vertical line divides the world into the northern and southern hemisphere? So what's the line that cuts it in half from north and south? You would find that answer right here. Equator. The virtual line that connects the northern and southern poles, north and south poles, and divides it into eastern and western hemispheres. That line has a very specific name, and that line is labeled right here. It is the prime meridian. Prime meridian. Number 5, which continent has land that falls into all 4 hemispheres, not quadrants? So if you're looking at this, and you're looking at like, oh, look at the quadrants, that's math, we're talking about hemispheres. So I want you to look like what is in both the north and the south, both the east and the west. It's pretty obvious though if we're thinking about like, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking a lot about Africa, so I suspect Africa is going to be in all 4 hemispheres. All right, so letter 6. Below you're going to choose either A or B. You're just going to highlight your answer up here in the highlighting tool. So you're selecting either A or B to answer this question, or to think about which one is more accurate. Using Africa's global location on the map, is Africa has a long history of active contact through trade, migration, cultural diffusion, conflicts, etc., with other regions of the world, or is it that until recently Africa has been very isolated from other regions of the world? So if I'm looking at this map, do I think that they traded a lot with other regions, or do I think that they stayed very isolated? So really look at that map, think about how close they are to other land masses, how far away they are from other land masses, what's the likelihood of trade with those regions, and you are deciding A or B. Once you've done that, you are going to justify your answer. So due to Africa's physical location, a long history of trade is likely because, or due to Africa's physical location, a recent change is likely because, and you're going to justify your answer, you being as specific as you can. Number 8. Based on the information provided in the map, with which 2 other countries do you think that the societies in Africa had the longest contact with, and why? So if you have to look at this map, what other regions do you think they had a lot of trade contact with? Do you think it was Europe, Asia, Australia, North and South America? Who do you think that they had a lot of interactions with? And also tell me why. So 1, 2, because. And then last but not least, based on the information provided in the map, which regions of Africa do you think it was, like Northern Africa, Southern Africa, Western Africa, or Eastern Africa had the earliest contact with other regions, and why do you think that is? So if you were looking strictly at the map, who do you think had the most contact, north, south, east, or west, and why do you think that is? Purely based on if you just looked at this map. Once you're done with that, we're going to move on to this independent practice section. I'll start off by giving directions, but then it's basically just like work time. See me back here in a minute.